Okay, folks. So, driving. It's a thing thanks to the political influence of General Motors. We're all forced to do a lot more than maybe we'd like to. A typical day for many an average worker is spending about 2 hours, give or take, in your car, sitting behind other people in their cars. You know, you could all just be in a bus going to where you want to go, but that wouldn't help the manufacturer's profits. And in some lesser, shittier countries than the US of A, sometimes you're stuck looking at the most boring, bland of license plates. Like, look at this. Look at what these Brit bongers have to deal with. There's no creativity. There's no definition in this license plates. What am I supposed to do with this? But coming in once again to show the rest of the countries what's up, America has some interesting license plates, believe it or not. So today we're gonna go through all of these standardized US state license plates, give them a position on this tier list here, and try to determine what the best license plates are. Now, most states have about a dozen or so vanity plates. We're not gonna be covering any of those because the vanity plates can be anything from like a veteran's memorial sort of thing to, I saw some like pro-life license plates that were just really awkwardly designed. So that would take forever, and it's not really fair to put them on the same sort of class as these standardized ones. So we're just gonna go through those which are standard for each state. So let's get into it. First off, we have the generic standard Alaska plate here. Yellow background, it's nice and bright, and it makes the blue text pop pretty well. Like, this is all pretty easy to read, but it's pretty bland. I don't think it's definitely not the worst plate we're gonna see today, but I'm pretty sure it's a firm D tier for me. The other Alaska plate, however, this beautiful little boy right here with this cute little fluffy grizzly dog, that's probably gonna be an S tier for me. Next up, Alabama. Love the gradient here. I love the different levels of like the river, and the different levels of the mountain and the skyline. The colors are a little bit too earthy tone for me though, so I think I'm gonna put that in the A tier. In hindsight, there's some better plates coming up. That's probably a B tier for me. Arkansas, nice little gradient. The diamond is interesting. I love the text for Arkansas. Don't know what the natural state means, but that's probably gonna be a C tier for me. There's nothing really super striking about it, but it's also not, bad by any means. That's a great point, Michael McCormick. There are no natural states. We're on stolen land after all. California, or this might sound like it contradicts some of the criticisms I'll have of plates going forward, but the simplicity of this plate is really strong. I don't think it's an A tier, but considering the plates like Alaska that normally are so bland that I turn down, I think this one's got a really nice simplicity to it. I like the font of the California and the mix of colors. Oh, boo. Fuck you, chat. California's plate is lovely. Y'all just hating me because I'm speaking the truth. Next up, Colorado. I definitely like this one. It's nice and simple. I love the little marks on the mountains there. I think one of my problems with this one, and this will come up with a few of the plates, there is this kind of tension between how the plate looks to be seen when you're driving and how it just looks, period. And this is one of the ones where when it comes up driving, it's pretty mediocre. Like the gradient doesn't, the little etchings on the mountain don't really pop out much when you're driving near it. So I think that's gonna be a C tier for me. Connecticut's plate, I really like the gradient, but it just really doesn't do, it's so basic, it doesn't really do much. I'm torn between like a C or a D tier here. So yeah, I'm thinking C tier for that. Delaware, however, is gonna be our first F tier. I have no nice things to say about this plate. It is a boring combination of colors. Arizona, however, that is gonna be yet another, oh no, get back here, come on. That's gonna be another S tier for me. I love the gradient of the skyline. I love the purple mountains and the little cactus. absolutely great stuff. Florida, I'm tempted to say C tier, but looking at it now, I'm actually kind of thinking, maybe this is just my Florida hate coming out. I'm actually thinking D tier for this one. There's just nothing that really pops. You know, Connecticut has the gradient. Colorado has the mountain range, which is neat. Arkansas has the lovely font, but I'm like, it's just green with the shape and the oranges. Like, you could do better. Similarly, I think this standardized Georgia plate here, this is just pretty boring. I'm even tempted to put it into, no, you know what? It's time to reorder. Okay, that makes me more satisfied. I'm happier with that. This Georgia plate, however, I love the little peaches. I love the gradient of the skyline. Just overall great vibes. I haven't seen this one much, but it's cute when you run into it. That's gonna be an A tier for me. I'm feeling a solid B tier on Hawaii. I love the little rainbow, it's cute. Much like California, there's a certain iconic status that I love in running into this, but it doesn't certainly go above and beyond into any sort of superior tier. Idaho, this one, I'm a little torn. I generally like running into this plate. It's got a nice range of colors and all that, but at the same time, it's a little bit more garish to look at than some of the other plates that I really enjoy. So I think that's gonna be a B tier for me. C. Okay, Illinois. I think Illinois is gonna be a solid B tier for me. The color palette's nice. I love the little Skyland and the Lincoln off to the side. Nothing too much there to elevate it into A or S, but certainly better than all the shit below it. Indiana. This might be a controversial take just because of, you know, the things above in my tiers that have little gradients and stuff often are of the best. This is going to be a solid F tier for me. It looks like a child drew this in like MS Paint. It looks like stock art that you get from like Microsoft Word. I would rather see the Alaska plate than I would see this fucking Indiana plate. Boo me all you want, but guess what? I'm in control here. Ludlow Vert, that's the beauty of these dumb old tier lists, is we can all have different opinions. And maybe I'll put this up on some sort of tier list website so y'all can make your own and prove how wrong I am. Next up, Iowa. I normally like passing by this one. I like the kind of mix of colors and the skyline by the Iowa, but looking at it now, I'm getting more so like a D tier. Going back again, it's funny following up Indiana. Yeah, it does remind me a little bit of the Indiana. Okay, Kansas. I don't necessarily hate whatever this little thing is in the background, but it does not bring me joy whatsoever. So E tier. Kentucky. The hell am I supposed to do with this? It's just got, I mean, the font is nice. I like the little horse coming off of it, and it's got a nice gradient in the background, but it's pretty boring, so I think that's gonna be a D tier for me. Louisiana, really boring choice of fonts. The color palette's kind of nice. I like the mix of the red and the blue there going off the white, but it's just boring. That's gonna be another E tier for me. Yeah, that's a great point. It's just a worse California. Now, this one is actually one of the surprises from this list, because I realize in pulling the images for this, a lot of states have standard license plates for semi-trucks. So I thought Maine's license plate it's a pretty standard, like just green font on white. Hated it. But I've never actually ran into a car, like passenger vehicle from Maine. But this is a really nice plate. That's gonna go in the A tier. I love the little bird. I love the little skyline. It's a nice mix of colors. I'm a big fan. Mary's Land. I like the folds of the flag and the way that it fades up into the white, but it's not terribly striking. Like, it's definitely not one of my more favorite plates. I'm torn between like a B and a C tier here. Just so you guys know, as much as you are in the chat absolutely roasting me for my shit opinions, my partner cannot help but Snapchat me disagreements as well. So if I'm doomer posting on Twitter later, just know that I got dumped for putting Colorado in the C tier. I love that, Michael McCormick. Yeah, Maryland is just so sure of itself that that flag is quality that they deserve respect for it. But I don't know if I can put this much higher than like a C tier. I'm curious, Ludlovert, I think most other countries just have like blank plates on blank colors, you know? Like I've never been watching like a BBC show and thought, and I don't remember seeing a single plate that wasn't just like yellow with black font on it or whatever. Okay, Massachusetts. Really boring. I like the color palette enough to not shove it down into the depths of this list, but that's gonna be a D tier for me. Oh God, there's so many left. Why are there so many states in this stupid country? Oh yeah, Canada has different plates as well, but I guess maybe it's just not an EU thing. Okay, Michigan. It kind of actively angers me how there's an attempt here at having something cool. Like the font choice is interesting with the Michigan. I like the choices of blue, the little dip there, but it just really doesn't deliver in any meaningful way. So that's probably gonna be C tier for me. Minnesota. This is probably one of my favorite plates to run by. I think it's just got a nice little simplicity to the color palette. I love the forest and all that. So that's gonna be in the B tier. Okay, Mississippi. This one just kind of fills me with a rage I really can't describe. I don't think it's bad enough to be in the F tier, but it just, for having such a nice little almost like metal print in the color there, for having the love the way the S's loop together, but then to just have this generic ass logo in the background, that's going into the depths of the E tier for me. My eyes would not be filled with the happy chemicals if I ran across this plate. Okay, Missouri. There's something about those wavy lines and the kind of generic font. This feels like just an absolute F tier for me. I do not enjoy really much about the design here whatsoever. This is what Montana's normal plate looks like. I like the shape of the state, and Montana does this really funny thing where every license plate of theirs, there has to be the shape of the state, but it's pretty basic, so that's probably gonna be a D tier for me. However, this old Montana license plate might legitimately be my favorite license plate. This one has a really fun mix of the shape of the state with the mountain, like the sort of side elevation of the state. I love the gradient. I love the big sky with the little like moose skulls. Absolute S tier plate here. Okay, Nebraska Cornhuskers. I do like the yellow on the blue. I think that's a nice touch, but there's also nothing really striking about this. So I think that's gonna go in the D tier here. Next up, Nevada. It's hard to see this driving by it, but I really like the sort of stained glass effect here at the bottom. I think it's really cute. Also love the yeehaw ass font. That's probably gonna be an A tier for me. I really like this Nevada plate. New Hampshire. Nice change of pace with the colors. You know, we don't see too much green, and I like the change of colors in the background, but I really don't get a good sense for like what in the world I'm supposed to be looking at here. Like it looks like a cliffside, and it's fine if I'm not immediately aware of what it is. It just doesn't really strike me. So for me, that's probably gonna be a C tier. New Jersey. I don't necessarily hate driving by this, but it's such a, the yellow gradient could be used better with like a better pairing. But as it stands right now, that's gonna be a fucking D tier for me, which, you know, is probably what New Jersey deserves. New Mexico, however, oh my God, do I love this license plate. I love it more than I love myself, if I'm being honest. That's gonna be a fucking S tier. New York. This one, it's sometimes the colors on these license plates fade and they look kind of grimy. But generally pretty all right. I like the way the colors pop out of each other, and I like the way it reminds me of the old New York Jets. uniform. So that's probably gonna be, and we're at the point now where I'm just gonna start stacking these on top of each other. Oh no, that's not gonna work, is it? Do you ever think you'd be at this point in your lives, chat, where you're watching somebody shrink license plates? You could be like reading theory. You could be like hugging your grandmama, but you're here, you're watching me right now. North Carolina. Not gonna lie, I actually kind of vibe with this plate. I love the mix of colors. That's probably gonna be a B tier for me. Oh no, this is all sorts out of whack. North Dakota, pretty solid plate. I love the gradient, the little bison boy. The font on the name is cool. I like that we have color and then it's got the glowing edge. That's probably gonna be an A tier for me. Ohio. Now this one isn't awful to run. There's something about it driving past it that looks nice-ish, but sitting here reading it now, I think that's a pretty, it's really bland. Not that I expect much better from Ohio, but that's probably gonna be like a D tier for me. I like the aesthetic design here a little bit. It's got a nice range of colors. The Oklahoma font is nice. But if for no other reason than not wanting to give credit to a plate that tries to pay homage to a peoples that it is, or a group of peoples it's been genociding for years, in pure protest, this plate is going to go in the F tier. Oregon. This, in my opinion, is a really solid plate. I love the little tree, love the mix of colors, the font, the mountains in the background. That's gonna be a solid A tier for me. Pennsylvania. Now I do think the choice of the yellow is interesting here, and this is a very recognizable plate. But again, just looking at everything else that we have, really not feeling struck by this at all. So that's probably gonna be it's not bad enough to be in the E tier. That's gonna be a D tier for me. Rhode Island. This one's really interesting because again, I hadn't actually seen anyone driving the car before. It's got a nice set of colors. I love, believe it or not, there's a lot of red, white, and blue on this list, but I love the lines coming off the Rhode Island. Love the little boat. That's probably gonna be a B tier for ya boy Piley. South Carolina. It's a nice gradient. I love the little tree in the middle. The phrase at the top is lovely, though it gets a little lost there as it's being blended in with the gradient in the background. But it is cute. I like the simplicity of it. That'll probably be a C tier for you boy. South Dakota. It's a nice set of colors. The sort of texture of Mount Rushmore is lovely. But like Oklahoma, in protest of a monument that took an important site for Native peoples, that's gonna go in the F tier. Tennessee. Now I have to be really careful about what I say with this plate because my partner is from Tennessee, so I really don't want to get dumped over this tonight. It is nice, I do like it. It's unlike some of the other ones where the gradient has struck me as kind of bland. I do really, really like the greens fading up. So I'm definitely feeling B tier on this one. I don't think it quite does enough, you know, like Oregon with the tree or North Dakota with the bison or, you know, the little touches like that. I don't think it does enough to elevate itself into an A tier, but it's definitely the better half of this country. I like it. Texas. About as boring a plate design as you can ask for. That's just going straight into the F tier. Next up, Utah. This is a lovely plate. I love the different levels. I love the really like kind of cartoony vibes here. It's got a very certain aesthetic that's lovely. So I'm torn between A and S tier on this one. You know what? I don't think it quite does enough to be in the S tier, but it is a lovely, lovely plate. So that's gonna go smack dab into the A. Vermont, very boring set of colors, very boring font. It's at least a little different, so I don't think it's the worst. So that's gonna be an E tier. Virginia, interesting fonts, colors are pretty boring. That's probably also gonna be an E tier. Nah, that's gonna be a D tier for me, and we're just gonna deal with the fact that they're overlapping. Washington, my home state's plate. So take this with a grain of salt when I say this is one of my more favorite plates. I love the Mount Rainier background, the patterns of the snow. I love the red font, lovely stuff. But if for no other reason than to prove I'm not just a hometown shill, that is gonna go in the A tier for me. I don't think it's quite S tier. West Virginia. Really like the colors here. It's a nice change up, especially I love the I love the horizontal lines. It's gonna be a solid C tier for me. Wisconsin. This is probably gonna be a rarity in that a lot of the plates I like toward the top have really fun backgrounds going on, and a lot of the plates towards the bottom have just blank text. But I love the top header here. I think that's a really cool mix of like what almost looks like a cheese wheel, a farm. Love the font. That's probably gonna be a B tier for me. It's going to overlap these, but that's fine. I am running out of room and I don't want to resize everything. And last, but certainly least, Wyoming. Driving by this plate, I always thought it looked kind of fine. I thought it looked kind of neat, but it wasn't until sitting with it that I realized this is just a photo printed onto the plate. Like, it's not a rendition of a photo, like styled to look like something. It's just the photo. So for me, that's probably gonna be an F tier. That's just really, nah, I can't be that hard on it. That's gonna be an E tier. It does look pretty. That's just, something about that is so hackneyed to me to just take a picture and put it on the license plate. So there you go, folks. We have decided once and for all, there is no more debate to be had. Don't even try me there. The official tier list of all standard US license plates. Hope you enjoyed this video. Now let's turn it over to the pre-recorded outro. Be sure to toss me a like and subscribe down below. But if you really want to help me out, you can join me over on Patreon. Patrons get access to exclusive behind-the-scenes content, like early versions of every video, and exclusive Patreon-only videos. Plus, if you join the Piley Benton's Biggest Boys tier, you get your name read off at the end of every video, which I am about to do once I pull up the names. Zoth, Sean Locke, Revo Pregame, Emily, Nillik Elites, Floof Pants, and Cameron Fordo. So if you want to hear your lovely name read off at the end of every video, be sure to join me on this specific tier. Thanks much, everyone, and I'll see you next time.